Hi, students. How are you doing? Welcome to Nara Sim, and thank you all so much for all the love and support. Hope you all are doing great. You all know that some days or weeks are like a week plus now. It's really been very hectic for Black people here and there. I mean, it's the only thing you hear is Black people this, Black people with that, and while we are at the same time, I mean, looking for a way to put ourselves together, sit back, relax, think, refresh, reboot, right? I want us also to remember that there is also something that we are missing out on, and that is Black unity, Black peace. And when I say that Black peace is actually a mandatory, I really mean that. Number one is that you all already know how jealous they are of you. Sometimes they are like, how are these people doing all this with everything happening to them? They are still scaling through and all that. They know how powerful a Black man and a Black woman are together. So when they found out how powerful we are together, they looked for a way to put a division. And that division is really working so hard. And how do we solve all this out? It starts with you, it starts with me. I want us to understand that everything also is not meant for the internet. When a Black man hurts you or a Black woman do this and all that, you all run out on the internet, Black woman this, Black man that. We can do better. Let's get into it.
Please recognize that a lot of the anti-Blackness directed towards Black Americans from foreign people of color derives from jealousy. See, to be Black American is to be marginalized and disenfranchised, but from a foreign perspective, you're marginalized and disenfranchised in America, which is the best place to be marginalized in, from a foreigner's perspective. I am from a foreign family. I've said this before and it bears repeating. My family is Jamaican. I'm mixed race. I was born in Montego Bay, Jamaica, emancipated to the United States when I was 5, and I am now a naturalized citizen. So in addition to growing up and being socialized in America and matriculating through the American public education system and the university system, I have that lived perspective in addition to the lived perspective of being raised by foreigners. Like a lot of the opportunities for advancement, for job placement, for obtaining a formal education that are here in America, that exist in America, are of course taken for granted by American citizens who are born here. These opportunities are unheard of in most parts of the world. For example, in Jamaica, the opportunities for employment, right? You can graduate from high school here in America and literally go work at Target or at the Dollar Tree or go learn a trade or something like that. It's not desirable. It's not what society wants you to do. You know, society says that you should be working in a corporate structure, but the opportunity at least exists. There's also opportunity for obtaining a 4-year college degree through the provision of student loans that are widely available to most eligible individuals, in addition to community college and junior college that's available to folks who wouldn't qualify for federal student loans, but who can work and put themselves through school and pay for tuition out of pocket. Those similar employment and educational opportunities do not exist in places like Jamaica, where you have to be born into a wealthy family to be able to afford a 4-year college degree, because there is no national student loan structure to pay for a university degree. There aren't as many places for employment that don't exist outside of like a hospital or the tourism industry, or if you're not related to a family member who works in like the HR department or the hiring department for a particular place of employment. For example, how I, as an American citizen, can walk into a Costco or a Walmart or a Target or something and be hired based on, you know, my experience or based on my knowledge or what have you. Those places don't exist in Jamaica. So being able to just walk into somewhere with a piece of paper and the ability to work and find that work, that itself, that opportunity is non-existent in most places in the world. So understand that foreign people of color who live in these places where opportunity is few and far between, unless you're born into the moneyed class or unless you're born into the noble class, look at Black Americans living in America and are envious and are jealous. And their thing is, well, what are you complaining about? You don't know anything about marginalization or what it truly means to be dispossessed or what it really means to be oppressed, because you're in America. You have all these opportunities. You have all these chances. You have justice. You have laws and discrimination laws that protect you. Those things don't exist where I'm coming from. So what's the big deal with you? And again, it's envy because, yeah, you're marginalized, but you're marginalized in America where you have a right to legal advice. You have a right to a speedy and fair trial. You have a right to be protected from unreasonable government search and seizure. You have discrimination laws that protect you. You know what I mean? Like, you have all of these things that protect you that you're just born into just by accident of birth that I don't have in my own country. Mix that envy and jealousy in with the existing anti-blackness that pervades almost every society on the planet, and boom, you have activists and the Palestinian liberation movement being anti-black and racist towards Black Americans. For my Black American brothers and sisters, understand that that's where a lot of the antipathy from other foreign people of color comes from. It's nothing, its basis is in jealousy and envy, and even though that sounds like an oversimplification, I promise you it's not. Again, I grew up in a foreign family, being raised by foreigners, living here in America, while at home I was being socialized as a foreigner, and then in public society and public schools that I was attending and jobs that I held, I was being socialized in American. As an American, I can tell you that perspective that I'm speaking from is absolutely valid. And one last thing, another perspective to add to this is that when you come to America as a foreigner, in addition to fighting white supremacy, in addition to fighting poverty, now you're fighting xenophobia, right? Now you're fighting the immigration system and having to spend tens of thousands of dollars, if you have it, and years matriculating through the immigration system in the US. Foreigners like myself who have to deal with the United States Center for Immigration Services, who have to worry about ICE, who have to worry about whether their green card needs to be renewed, who have to pay for the exorbitant fees that it costs to apply for citizenship, because citizenship is not automatically granted to folks just because you live here for X amount of years. It is something that you have to apply for. It costs thousands of dollars, and it takes years for your application to process. It's not an immediate, yes, congratulations, you're now a US citizen. They have to go through your entire immigration record from the very date you set foot on US soil to determine whether or not you're even eligible to be a US citizen. And all while that process is ongoing, you are experiencing xenophobia, you are experiencing struggling with your dual identity. On the one hand, you're not fully American, so you're not quite in with American crowds, but on the other hand, your family and your immediate network don't view you as being a full native of the homeland either, because now you live in America and you grew up here and you've been socialized here. So you struggle with those identity complexes and whatnot, all while you're waiting for the US government to turn around and say, okay, yeah, you can be here forever now, basically. My mom raised my sister and I while my mom and I were undocumented immigrants. My sister was born here, thank God, but my mom and I were undocumented immigrants for 15 years. Not because we came here illegally, not because we came here, you know, by subverting the process. We arrived with visas. My mother was married to my father, who was a Jamaican national, who was also a U.S. citizen. So this process wasn't because of any of our own doing. We came here, lived an upper middle class lifestyle, and came from the upper class of Jamaican society, and yet and still we still struggled. So for my Black American brothers and sisters, add all of those nuances to not explain away or to justify the racism and the anti-blackness that we're seeing from foreign communities of color, but to explain it so that you understand where it's coming from. Foreign people of color are deeply envious of Black Americans and the privileges and the liberties Black Americans seemingly have here in the United States. And yes, they full well know that those privileges are always at risk of being taken away by white patriarchal structures, because these foreign communities of color are subject to those same structures abroad. They know that. The issue is that unlike Black Americans, they don't have the balls to stand up to those patriarchal structures. And that's another element of the envy. Something that my Black American friends have taught me, a phrase that I carry with me everywhere, is that closed mouths don't get fed. Black Americans fully understand that and have understood that from day one, which is why Black Americans were marching, protesting, boycotting, burning down slave plantations, making speeches until rights that where they should have been born with were given to them almost by force. Black Americans were not afraid to stand up to white patriarchal structures and white supremacy, and still today stand up to white supremacy in ways that foreign communities of color are just too afraid to do. And those foreign communities of color are also envious of Black Americans' bravery for standing up to white supremacist structures, and then in turn being rewarded with rights and liberties for standing up to those structures. Unfortunately, this is all just another version of high school. It's all just another version of schoolyard bullying, and foreign people of color are just very deeply envious and jealous of the privileges they think Black Americans have in the United States and how Black Americans are born into those privileges, and also the ballsy bravery and courage that Black Americans have in demanding that those privileges, those rights, those liberties stay in place.
Until Black people learn to prioritize Black people and Black prosperity over materialism and convenience, slavery will never end. Until Black men learn to stop getting online and disrespecting Black women, slavery will never end. Until Black women learn to stop disrespecting Black men, slavery will never end. You cannot bite the hand that protects you. You can go back and forth all day about all the Black men. I've been heartbroken by this Black man and that Black man. A Black man has that same story, sister. Okay? I done had my heart broken by plenty of Black women. Guess what? I ain't out here blaming all Black women for the problems I had with a few of them. That don't make sense. That sounds like something that the whites do. Do you understand the indoctrination? It happens right here in front of y'all face. When a Black person, whether woman or man, don't matter, goes through heartbreak or trauma and now generalizes their own entire community because of that trauma, who does that sound like? These are things that you've learned from the supremacist. These are things that you've been taught to believe about your own community. You've been taught to demonize your own community. So if you do business with a Black-owned business and they happen to mess up, now you're going to classify all Black-owned businesses as bad. Who does that sound like? We have to get out of the teachings of racists. We have to start to unlearn the teachings of racists. Black people trying to go to war and beef with Africans? That don't make no sense. You got a clear-cut enemy right in front of your face here domestically. And you want to go to war and talk bad on Africans? There's some shit that y'all do that don't make no goddamn sense. Y'all talk bad on Hispanic people, gay people, Africans. You talk bad, the Black men talk bad on the Black women talk bad on the Black men, and we wonder why we can't get nowhere. You have been trained to demonize and attack everybody in your own community while ignoring the one group of people that directly benefit from you attacking your own people. You cannot be pro-Black. You cannot throw no black fist in the air. You cannot say you are for your people if you are on these social media apps talking bad on Black men and you don't want to mention Black women, talking bad on Black women and you don't want to mention Black men. You have to come at it from an unbiased, bigger picture, long-term look of everything, not just what contributes to what you want to be true. I see this so much, so many Black pages on every app. Sit up here, you got Black women that will demonize a Black man. I mean, talk about him like he a dog. They whole page is dedicated to it. You got Black men that do the same thing towards Black women. You got Black people that will not support a Black-owned business, will not go out of their way to support a Black-owned business. But every day you contributing to white prosperity. Every day you contributing to that profit margin, that white man's profit margins. And you wonder why we're still here and haven't evolved and moved? You're too busy being a good slave to ever be free. Freedom will never be reality in this community, not in the Hispanic community, not in the Native American community, not in the gay community, not in no community. Freedom will never be reality until you learn to prioritize you and us. You have to learn that you are 100% colonized, 100%, which means that you have thoughts which means you have habits, which means you have an entire ideology that is anti-black that was taught to you by these people that are in power today. These people are only in power because of your anti-blackness.
I think I realize why so many people are mad at black people. I think I see why so many people are so upset with us. Because a lot of those folks, they expect black suffering. They don't expect us to prioritize ourselves and our safety. They expect to snap their fingers and receive servitude. They expect to clap their hands a few times and we just appear to perform activism the way they would like us to do that. They don't expect us to look out for ourselves or for each other. They don't expect a world of nuance. That is black people. What they're used to and are afraid to admit is servitude. They see a black person in active service who have chosen to be in active service of humanity, and they expect that. They want to frame what that service should look like and how that service should be performed. Never mind that they automatically take out the humanity and the agency from the black person who is performing these acts. Because if you look at a black person the same way you look at a snack machine, and when it doesn't give you the snack that you immediately want, you start beating on it, then of course you're going to be upset when you watch black folks start to prioritize ourselves. Of course you're going to try to manufacture a beef, which to be honest, I still feel like it's an inside job and somebody's influencer got paid for that. So I hope the check was good, because you're out here messing with things that you don't need to be messing with. But back to what I'm talking about. I think we need to get to this place where we don't expect people to show up in the service that we want them to, but we expect them to show up in service the way they are called to. Speaking specifically for black folks who've had to fight for our humanity in ways that few other groups have. Notice I said few and not none. Just wanted to highlight that. So I think it becomes easier to beat down on black people when you don't expect them to be human, when you only expect them to serve you, to perform for you, and to dance for you, and to cook and clean for you. See how that's starting to sound? Black folks are not a monolith. We are allowed to engage in our own agency. We are allowed to use our voices how we choose to. And after all we've been through, the last folks anyone has any right to call colonizers or any other hateful derivative is black folks. Put some respect on our names. We're the ones who gave you the language of liberation and showed you the way forward in community. Now, can we move along so we can actually help some people? Okay, thanks, bye.
So this is all I got from this video, and there is really a whole lot to learn from this, from the videos, you know. And not until we start putting ourselves first, not until we start being mindful of ourselves, not until we start respecting one another also. I am not talking about other people first. I am talking about us right now, right? Not until we come together and say it is time for us to do this. Now, let me tell us this. You already have no idea how powerful black men and black women are together. We probably do not know that. And the truth is that they have already envisioned, they have already seen how powerful we are together. What did they do? They looked for a way to bring one or two things into our midst. And now the division is all out there. You see a black man want to say this about a black woman want to say this about a black man. How do we get better? We can get better by forgiving ourselves, being the best version of ourselves. When I say forgiving ourselves, completely forgiving ourselves, not forgiving and still having grudge or holding grudges also. We really need to come together. We really need to bring ourselves together. We really need to have an agreement. We really need to come in agreement to work together. Because how do you want us to be that powerful people? How do you want us to be that powerful community if we are not working together? So how do you want us to work? Sincerely speaking, other communities really know how powerful we are. And they are absolutely jealous of that. That's why all of a sudden, I don't know if that is like as if there is a war on Black men and Black women. Nobody wants to say something good about the other. Nobody wants to say something great about the other. Like the man said, somebody hurt you. Is it everybody that hurt you? Of course not. You had a problem with one, does it mean that, or you had a problem with two, does it mean every other person is like that? Of course, no. Sometimes we tend to generalize, and sometimes we tend to overflow what is happening in our community. Sometimes we are also too loud to tell everybody. There was a live stream I was scrolling on TikTok the other day, and guess what? I saw them discussing on the internet. All of this really have to stop. Because I remember bringing a video where a Black man was talking about how loud we talk, especially on the internet. And he was like, what is happening in my community is happening in every other person's community. But we are always very loud. We man camera and we start going live, saying so many things, talking so many things. That is when you start giving other people power over what is happening in our community. It's more like one of the reasons why everybody have something they want to say. There is no, but even cockroach have something they want to talk about. They'll have something to say about Black community. We can do better. We should learn to forgive one another. We should come together because we are all that we have. You all have seen everything go. We are always very quick to sort other people's problem, but sometimes we are very nonchalant and ignorant, like very nonchalant about our own problem. First of all, we want to settle what is happening. But I keep saying this: charity starts at home. We have to look good inside before going outside. You can't just be good only outside. I want it when our inside is good, our outside are like, we are looking good inside, we are at the same time looking good outside. Nobody can do this for us. Nobody can fix all this for us. We are the only ones that can do all this for ourselves. I mean, for the past how many weeks, or 2 weeks now, or 1 week plus right now, it's been other people putting there, being very nosy about Black community, being very jealous about Black people, how they handle things, how you are not speaking, how you spoke for them, and all of a sudden, why are you still not speaking for us? Why do you have to withdraw? I mean, everybody got something to say about us. Everybody. Don't we sometimes sit back and ask ourselves questions? There are some certain things that we have to fix in-house. And it starts by you and I. It starts by us, not by any other person. You in particular, I in particular. Not until we are able to do this and keep that unity that has been binding us way before now. We really do need to bring all that back and let our glory shine. Really, if there is anything that I am so much concerned about, is people that look like me. It is something that I'm very passionate about. Yeah, I care so much. Black love, I love it. Black unity, I love it. Black peace, I love it. I know there is no community that is 100% perfect. And we are not agitating for perfection. What we are saying is that we can do better than we are doing now. And I really hope we can work on this. Stop being loud. I mean, stop coming out and I'm not trying to turn police. What I'm trying to say is everything must not be online. Everything must not be on live. You must not speak camera all the time. I mean, you fell out with a black woman, it's online. You fell out with a black man, it's online. You have a child for how many? It's online. Everything is not made for the internet. If everything is on the internet, what are you keeping for yourself? See you all in my next video. Bye for now.